Just challenge ourselves with growing something in a shady area, right?
Draw them out at their full size.
Could I, for the first year at least, while they're very small, intersperse some annuals?
What you do is start with your must-have perennials.
You think they'll like morph?
They
Creeping
won't
bellmint?
morph.
Brad says no. I said yes, and now the nest is staying, so we compromised.
We compromise.
The Helpful Gardeners, the podcast that digs into the buzziest plant trends and news you need to know, regardless of your growing zone. Colin is a skilled horticulturist with decades of growing experience across Canada. Brandi is the greenest of green thumbs with a love of asking questions. Welcome to our Garden Nook.
Colin, I have something so awesome to tell you.
Okay.
I was down in the greenhouse in the annuals department, and, you know, we have a lot of new people that are working with us this season.
Yep.
And I think I was telling you before the podcast, is like everybody has these secret lives. They come here and they work at Golden Acre, but then they're like doing these amazing jobs or have these amazing skills or whatever. Like
100%.
There's so much depth to the people that work here, and I absolutely love it. This cute lady comes up. And I was just like, oh, hi there. How's it going? And she's just like, this is kind of weird. I've been watching the podcast for a year and a half. I was like instantly like so excited. I was like, you're watching the podcast? That's amazing. Her name is Alyssum.
Okay.
Which I think is so wonderful. I've never met anyone named Alyssum before.
It reminds me of that kid's book I read, Chrysanthemum.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's a fantastic name.
Yeah. She goes to Olds College.
Okay.
And she's in, I think she said it was either her second or third year. And so she's going to start to be kind of moving forward towards graduation. And she's looking to do horticulture and all of these kinds of things. And I just thought it was so wonderful. And there was another woman, her name's Heather. So I went up to Nick. I was like, Nick, there's a conspiracy. All of the people in annuals have plant names. And he was just like, no, they don't. Lucas works in annuals. I was like, okay, well, there goes that one. Yeah. But anyway.
All the new people.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought I would share that. It's just so sweet. And a shout out to Alyssa. Maybe we should have Alyssa on the show.
Yeah, we should.
It is Wednesday, and that means that the question of the week goes to you, or in this case, me. Or in this case, my husband, Brad.
Yep.
Because this was a very timely question, and I really wanted your perspective.
Okay.
Because I am cutting a new perennial bed.
Nice.
In my yard. You're very familiar with my yard.
Yeah. So the back, I guess where you guys would be, the back southwest corner.
Yes. Yeah. Right by the pine tree.
Yep.
That's in the corner there. We've already taken up all of the rocks. There was this sort of like really nice slate like rock. Yeah. All that's left in that spot is a sand pit. How do we map out what we're going to do?
Is it a straight replacement? So what I mean by that is you're removing the patio. You're not going to cut a new edge. You're going to keep that patio edge because where the patio was, there was no grass. Where the grass is, there was no patio.
Yeah.
Putting sod down is not the most fun job you can do. And cutting sod out is also not a fun job. If you're going to be like, no, actually, you know what? I like that. That's a good enough space to start because you can always expand in later years. Then that's your area.
So we would essentially want to cut one of the corners and make it lawn because it's too big. Okay. I think for the garden bed, because I think one of the considerations we were making when we were putting in our perennials was we need to be able to reach them, to be able to weed. We were like adding in new material or mulching or whatever.
So just so you know, I worked on perennial beds, probably 50 feet long and 20 feet deep.
Yeah.
I've told you, we did properties that had no lawn. They were just beds.
Oh, wow.
You can walk through a perennial garden, no problem. Just be careful where you step. So what I would do is start with your must-have perennials.
Okay.
Ooh,
so make a list.
Exactly. You know, go relatively easy. You do your top 5. Brad does his top 5. Mm-hmm. Then you see what crosses over and you both picked echinacea.
Yeah.
And you go, wicked, that one we're doing. And then you go, okay, this is how many perennials. And then you look and you go, how big do we want the clumps? So we might do 3 echinacea so that you would have this huge, when they matured, you would have this huge, 5 foot, 6 foot square area of just echinacea in bloom. But if your area is a little smaller, one will do it. Okay. And then you want to sort them by height all the way down to your ground covers at your edge. And then you want to plot it out.
And then how do you recommend dealing with the sand situation? How much of the new garden bed can incorporate sand, or do I need to take it out?
Okay, so there's a couple of different sands. There's construction sand. There's more than this. Any sand expert who's watching this will be like, you're well off, Colin. There's 97 sand. When you're looking at a garden or a landscape, normally what you're dealing with is play sand, so a kid's sandbox.
Okay.
Construction or aggregate sand that people will add to the beds for drainage, or maybe they put it down as a foundation when they're building a wall on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the case of some patios, polymeric sand, which is almost like concrete.
It never moved.
Yeah. So you pulled everything up and it stayed in its little...
I mean, you could smush it down,
yeah, you can,
but it stayed pretty
But you've got to
molded.
like kick it and you got to get rid of that. Yeah. And I don't know if you can put it in the compost. I would say not, probably. Polymeric sand, like I said, it's like concrete. So people will use it between pavers.
Yeah.
And then it locks together. Now you can remove a paver. So if a paver sinks or it's shifted, but it requires tools.
Yeah.
You're not just prying it out with a screwdriver. Like you've got to break the sand, you've got to crack it around it, and then you've got to prise the rock up. That's mainly what people use. The problem is you mix that into the bed, then it can form very horrible aggregates that you don't want in your plants.
Oh.
That being said, you don't have to remove every grain of sand. If you get 90% of it out, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So those big clumps, remove them. And the easiest way to do it is just use a rake.
Go and till it up, fluff it up, add some amendments.
Yep.
And then we want to start to map out our garden bed. So how do we want to do that?
I'm old school. I would draw it.
But how do you draw it?
So,
on paper?
Yeah.
Oh.
Take analog meet digital.
Like, what are you going to do out there?
There are programs. I guarantee there's probably something for AI. There's all kinds of stuff. What I would do is I would draw it to scale. Okay, so I would draw the area. So, whatever, say it's a triangle just to make life easy, and it's 10 foot by 10 foot by 14 foot. Okay. Then I would look at the perennials we picked.
Yes.
Okay, so you and Brad have picked echinacea and maybe a small shrub even, an azalea. I wouldn't put an azalea in that area though.
Yeah, it's shady.
But whatever you pick, draw them out at their full size.
Okay.
So do a little bit of research and go, when an echinacea is fully mature, it has a 3.5 foot spread.
Okay.
Draw that and then go, okay, the echinacea is a tall plant. That's going to the back. Rebecca is a tall plant. Call Forester is a tall plant. Iris is a medium plant. And you start building accordingly, draw them out at their max size. And then you look and you go, oh my God, that looks terrible. Because I've got so much room left over.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's at their max size. So think about what it's going to look like freshly planted.
Right.
Okay, we need to add more. Is there a perennial that, we crossed off the list because we didn't like it? Is there a perennial that I really love? You go, no, these are the ones I want to use. Then you go, okay, well, what does it look like if I add another echinacea? Maybe I have an echinacea on this corner and this corner for some symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you just start adding and building and filling in because now you did 5, Brad did 5, you got a couple of crossovers. So now you're dealing with 8 perennials and then you start popping them in where you want them and you start playing it out.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see. So I like the max size because I think a lot of us don't really think about that. Could I, for the first year at least, while they're very small, intersperse some annuals?
Oh, I put annuals in mature perennial beds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So while they're not their mature size and they still have all that, because you're right, you plant all these perennials and you're like, this is going to look great in 10 years.
10 years, no way.
5 years.
3.
3 in 3 years.
With your area, a heavily amended soil, full sunlight, you caring for it and fertilizing it and making sure it has what it needs. Within 3 years, you're going to be like, damn, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
Promise, guaranteed.
Yeah. And also, I think it's very important to consider the sun exposure because we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out where we're going to put this perennial garden. And we eventually said, here's an area of the yard that we really don't utilize to its full potential. It's just sitting there, right? It's got this towering evergreen tree above it. So it's got a lot of shade, even though we have a south-facing garden. We now have to really kind of narrow down the search of, okay, we're only going to be planting these plants.
Yep.
Because that's all that will grow there, right?
And I've seen beds that were just hostas.
Oh.
Just hostas. So you get hostas. Some of them, the leaves are yay big.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you've got one and it's called mouse ear and it's this big.
Yeah.
So you do your mouse ear is your ground cover at the front and then you intersperse all the different hostas behind it. Again, not my favorite. You got a slug invasion. Your garden isn't going to look too great.
Yeah.
Solomon seal, woodruff, lily of the valley, stilby, aruncus. Like, because I think when we think of shade loving, our brain goes to things like the hosta, the begonia, and we think big wide leaves.
Mm-hmm.
The astilbe and the aruncus even, goat's beard, have got a almost like a fern leaf, like a maple shape, but goat's beard blooms white. And then astilbes, you've got whites, off-whites, pinks, purples, burgundies, reds.
Yeah.
So you've got, and they play really well with hostas. So you've got the big wide leaf of the hosta and it's blue. And then you put this burgundy-leaved astilbe next to it that flowers pink. Forget about it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was actually in the perennials department a couple days ago with Cynthia and just kind of getting the lay of the land. And we were actually in the shade department kind of looking around. She was very passionate about the shade lovers, like the pulmonaria and the bleeding heart. And
the only thing with pulmonaria is you got to be careful. It can spread into areas that maybe you don't want it, but it's not invasive. You give it a yoink and it's gone.
Yeah, there's another consideration though.
Yeah.
Is because I've heard that if you add lily of the valley, that can get out of hand. That's like as invasive as mint is.
Yeah, no. Mint is
mint. Okay, mint
is
king.
mint. Yeah, mint.
Mint is mint.
Mint is like I literally talked to somebody a week ago, 10 days ago, whatever. Their plan for combating creeping bell was planting mint.
That's so smart. Go to battle.
No,
you think they'll like morph?
they
creeping
won't
bell mint?
morph, but wherever the creeping bell doesn't grow, the mint will. Wherever the mint isn't growing, the creeping bell will. And now you've got two different plants that you have to...
they won't snuff each other out. Oh, okay.
No, they will just absolutely... Either one will win, or they will harmoniously just destroy everything in their path.
Garden warfare.
Yeah. That's like, oh my God, there's a rampaging elephant. What should we do? Put an angry lion on its back. The cure is worse than the disease.
Yeah, okay.
Treat it like a weed. So you say, Lily of the Valley, I'm going to give you 2 foot by 5 foot. That's your area to grow in.
Yeah.
It starts getting out of that. Just kill it.
Okay.
Just snap it off.
Yeah. That was something that I actually just recently learned is when you think of perennials, you always think of them as being very permanent and like you put them in and you kind of have to be okay with it.
Yep.
But what you've taught me over the years is that perennials can be very resilient and you can move them. Yep. You can split them. Yep. You can split grasses and make more grasses.
I don't think there's a perennial I haven't split.
Yeah. Every time we garden, we're always making it into the grand vision. But I really love when gardeners kind of put a different lens on it and they say, well, I'm kind of tired of how this layout is looking. I'm just going to make things shift it a little bit.
Yep.
I'm just going to try something new. I'm going to take out this perennial, gift it to a friend, and then put something new in there so I can continue to enjoy plants.
Or what? This customer moved into a house and the person before it, they'd done their entire edge around their house in one type of hosta.
Oh.
The customer didn't like it. I'm talking, when I say one hosta, I'm not kidding you here. We must have lifted out, I'd say 120 hostas.
Yeah. Okay.
And I took some to my girlfriend's house and I was like, hey, I got a bunch of hostas. She's like, oh my God, amazing. So we kind of did a layout on where she wanted them and we planted them. And one day, kind of the end of the summer, we're sitting on the back stoop. I'd forgotten to plant a hosta.
Oh.
I'd forgotten to plant it. It was sitting in a Montreal summer for probably 2 months, 3 months out of the ground.
Yeah.
Bare root.
Which is something that we say on the podcast is a no-no.
Absolutely. I was like, how is that alive?
Yeah.
I went over and looked, and sure enough, the roots were like this big, the hostas above it. It bloomed. It had bloomed that summer. And I went to move it, and I couldn't move it. The roots had grown through the lawn into the soil.
No.
And I was like, holy moly, I got to transplant it again.
Yeah. And did it live?
Yep. Yeah, did amazing.
Okay.
Because she had a staircase from the second floor coming down into the garden. So the back stoop came off of her kitchen. And then on the second floor, she had like a little balcony deck area with a staircase going into the garden. And I put a hosta on either side of the staircase. Just a little hosta bed on each side for a bit of symmetry. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think the winter would have killed it because it would have froze those roots solid.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have made it through the winter, but Montreal gets extremely hot, but it's also humid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anybody listening, I do not recommend, even if you're in Montreal, I do not recommend that as a hosta planting method. This segment was not endorsed by Colin.
Yeah.
Even though I was the one who did it. I don't recommend that, but that shows how tough some of these plants are.
Yeah. And that's primarily why we wanted to do a perennial garden, because we want something that's lower maintenance. And we also really want to just challenge ourselves with growing something in a shady area, right? Do you remember how last week we were talking about birds? There is now a bird building a nest in my garden. What is the timing on that? It's a robin. I love robins. Yeah. So this nest is staying, even though Brad says no. I said yes, and now the nest is staying. So we compromised.
We compromised.
And
I don't know what the compromise was, but okay.
So now it's actually in my garden. Luckily, not where we're doing this perennial bed, but it's in my garden and it is growing. It's doing a nest, and we are going to get little baby birds.
When you guys lifted up all of those pavers, okay. During or after when you lifted them up, is that when the robin started building its nest?
During. So
robins have an incredible sense of hearing. Okay. Phenomenal. So have you ever seen a robin run across your lawn? Stop until it... Well, you lifted all those stones. Those stones are a absolutely garbage conductor of heat.
Okay.
So when you step on a stone, it burns your foot.
Yeah.
Touch the underside of the stone, it's cold.
Yeah.
Okay, because all of the heat bounces off of it. It doesn't absorb any of it. That's why it's so hard to touch, but it's cool underneath. So all of that cool, moist soil has been a haven for worms. So you've just opened up a full banquet. This robin is like, honey, I found a great place for the house. All you can eat restaurant, right? Like, we're 3 minutes from the grocery store.
This podcast is brought to you by Golden Acre Home and Garden. Find seasonal inspiration for your home and garden in Calgary, Alberta year-round. Visit goldenacre.ca. The comments and opinions expressed by the helpful gardeners on this show are our own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Golden Acre Home and Garden. For more information on everything we covered today and to leave us a voice note, visit goldenacre.ca/podcast. The Helpful Gardeners are on Instagram at The Helpful Gardeners Pod. Keep on growing, gardeners!